Hello everybody, welcome to NDTV World. You're watching India Global. Today we'll tell you all about the bail plea for the Hindu priest that was rejected today in Bangladesh, and also the attack in New Orleans that happened yesterday, how the investigation has proceeded in that case, all that and more. But first, the headlines. No relief, bail plea for Hindu priest rejected again in Bangladesh. Bangladesh court has rejected bail for Chinmoy Krishna. Elon Musk launches fresh attacks against UK Prime Minister Starmer. Musk accuses Starmer of failing to tackle rape gangs. South Korean leader Yoon resists arrest over martial law bid. Yoon vows to fight until end in letter to supporters. Gukesh and Manu Bhaker awarded Khel Ratna. In fact, 4 athletes will receive the highest sporting honour in the country on the 17th of January. The New Orleans attack case, it's a terror attack. FBI probes the ISIS angle to this. Authorities probe linked to Cybertruck explosion. Security has been heightened at Trump Tower in parts of New York City. In a fresh blow to Hindu priest Chinmoy Krishna, it appears that there will be no relief for the Hindu priest who has been booked in a sedition case in November last year for allegedly disrespecting the Bangladeshi flag. Das's bail plea has been rejected yet again in Bangladesh Chattogram court for the 3rd time. In fact, a team of 11 lawyers participated in the 30-minute-long hearing that was held in the midst of heightened security arrangements. Remember, after the rejection of his bail plea on the 26th of November, clashes had erupted between protesters and police outside the Chattogram court premises, resulting in the killing of one lawyer called Saiful Islam Alif. Das's petition has claimed that he was suffering from several illnesses, including diabetes and respiratory problems, and he has been arrested in a false and fabricated case. That's what the petition said. We have with us Apurva Kumar Bhattacharjee, who is the lawyer who led the delegation representing Chinmoy Krishna. But before that, let's listen in to some political reactions.
ये बहुत दुखद खबर है। हम जानते हैं कि पूरे विश्व की नज़र इस हियरिंग पर थी और सभी लोग आशा कर रहे थे कि 9 वर्ष में चिन्मय कृष्ण प्रभु को मुक्ति मिलेगी, वो आज़ाद होंगे। लेकिन 42 दिन के बाद भी जब ये आज हियरिंग हुई तो उनके बेल को रिजेक्ट कर दिया गया। लेकिन एक पॉजिटिव खबर ये है कि एटलीस्ट आज उनके जो 10-11 लॉयर थे वो आज वो लोग उनके पक्ष में खड़े होकर कोर्ट में उनका पक्ष रख सके। बांग्लादेश गवर्नमेंट को इंश्योर करना चाहिए कि चिन्मय कृष्ण प्रभु को जस्टिस मिले। तो ये जो खबर आई है बहुत ही दुखद है।
Remember, a team of 11 lawyers had participated in this 30-minute-long hearing that was held in Chattogram in the midst of heightened security. And it was after this rejection of his bail plea on the 26th of November, clashes had erupted between protesters and police. So this is the 3rd time that the Hindu monk's plea has been rejected. Das's petition has claimed that he was suffering from several illnesses and that he had respiratory problems and also diabetes, and that he has been arrested in false and fabricated cases. That's what his petition said. In a short while from now, we'll have Apurva Kumar Bhattacharjee. He is the lawyer who led the delegation representing Chinmoy Krishna Das, a monk who was arrested on sedition charges in Bangladesh, and his bail plea has also been rejected by Bangladesh court today. In fact, his team has been fighting for his release. A team of 11 lawyers, in fact, led his defense in this hearing that took place today in the midst of heightened security arrangements. Saurabh Gupta, my colleague, joins us with more details on this. Saurabh, tell us about the update on this case. Tell us about the hearing that went on today and what is expected next.
Well, I think one question that we could ask Mr. Bhattacharjee, if we have that opportunity to reconnect with him, is that the sloganeering that was taking place in the court when this bail hearing was taking place, Probably from what I'm given to understand, and of course this can be verified by Mr. Bhattacharjee, is that there was a lot of sloganeering when the bail hearing was taking place. And one wouldn't say that it was absolutely in an atmosphere of fairness, because there was, as many have said in Bangladesh, an atmosphere of intimidation and fear with religious chants also taking place inside the courtroom and outside when these delegation of lawyers were escorted out. It must have been a very stressful day for that team of lawyers to have been surrounded by that kind of sloganeering and then make their arguments in court, and then also have to be escorted out by such a heavy amidst such heavy sloganeering. So yes, the legal process has moved forward, and what legal experts in Bangladesh are explaining that, look, earlier the process was stuck. He did not have a shot at presenting his case in court. Finally, he has had that shot, and of course the court has rejected his bail plea. But this, in a sense, also takes the legal process forward. He can apply for bail in a higher court, which is the High Court, the appellate court in this case. And then, of course, they can try and also appeal for an early hearing. But the concern really is that he continues to remain in jail, and in an atmosphere of such fear, there is concern over his well-being in jail, there's concerns over his health, and all of those concerns are, of course, very, very serious in nature. However, what lawyers are doing now, and Mr. Bhattacharjee's team is doing, is that they're trying to devise a strategy to ensure that at least when they argue in the High Court, they will have a better shot at getting Chinmoy Krishna Das out of bail. Now, legal experts and human rights watchers on the Bangladesh situation have said that this is a trumped-up charge, and it doesn't amount to the charges he's been booked for. However, the charges are serious, and therefore he continues to remain in jail, unfortunately, even on trumped-up charges.
Right. Thank you, Saurabh Gupta, for joining us with those critical details. Bangladeshi Hindu monk Chinmoy Das's bail plea has been rejected for the third time. He continues to be in jail. We'll get you more developments from Bangladesh, but just after this break. Welcome back. While Bangladesh has rejected Chinmoy Krishna Das's bail plea, it seems Dhaka is now extending an olive branch to New Delhi, with numerous voices from the BNP, Bangladesh's army chief, to the foreign advisor. All are sending one clear message: India-Bangladesh ties are of great importance, and Dhaka hopes ties will go back to normal this year. However, many questions remain before ties can be reset between the two nations, from former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's extradition to protection of minorities in Bangladesh. Let's first listen in to what Abdul Awal Mintu, Vice Chairperson of Bangladesh Nationalist Party, said.
Right now, if I see all the statement of the people, it is a little bit strange. But I think there is a goodwill and also good wishes and also positive thinking, especially after the meeting of the two foreign secretaries, to take our relationship further to a very, very positive state. So I hope that it will be, whatever strain you are seeing in the various statement of various political parties, that will not be for too long. And I think the endeavor is there and the thinking is there for a good relationship with our neighbor.
My colleague Mohammad Ghazali joins us with more details on this. Ghazali, you've been tracking this. What are the diplomatic undertones in these many voices that have come out in the last few days, specifically from Bangladesh, seeking to normalize ties with India?
See, Bangladesh and its entire diplomatic class has been saying this for a very long time, that these two issues, or say the three issues, persecution of minorities, extradition of Sheikh Hasina, and the normal ties with India, these are three separate issues. There are three parallel issues. One doesn't impact the other, and that is exactly what the foreign secretary there, or say the foreign advisor in the current terminology, has hinted, that relations between India and Bangladesh will go side by side. Their request for extradition will also proceed. They'll keep putting that diplomatic pressure by issuing statements, by holding talks, or even summoning the Indian High Commissioner in Dhaka as to how to proceed with the extradition request for Sheikh Hasina. Meanwhile, the bigger issue was of the persecution of minorities, and as today's court verdict came out that how this bail has been denied to Mr. Chinmoy Das, on that particular issue, Bangladesh has maintained the same rhetoric that Mr. Das is a Bangladeshi citizen. He has been booked by the Bangladeshi court and by the police, and the court will take a fair view of the entire case. But it was being believed that perhaps after the visit of Foreign Secretary Mr. Vikram Misri to Dhaka, and he also met Mr. Yunus, the interim advisor of the interim government, he stressed upon the fact that how there have been attacks against the minority community, especially the Hindu community, against the places of their worship. And then even the Bangladeshi government had responded saying that this is all media exaggeration. So on one side, both parties are talking to each other. They are issuing statements against each other also, but they're also talking. Bangladesh has hinted that perhaps trade ties should not get impacted, and this is what India is also hinting. So after the visit of Mr. Misri, it is very clear that both parties will keep pursuing their interest besides the trade and investment ties which they have had for a very long time.
Right. Thank you, Ghazali, for joining us with those details. To talk more on this, we have Veena Sikri, former ambassador to Bangladesh. We also have Major Reza Ul Karim, who is retired researcher and analyst. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on this show. To you, Veena Sikri, first, is it possible for Bangladesh and India to normalize ties at a time when Chinmoy Das is struggling to get a fair trial? But at the same time, there are these diplomatic voices that have spoken out in favor of normalizing ties.
Well, yes, thank you for inviting me on your show. I must say quite clearly that it's all right. I've heard all the statements that are being now coming out of Dhaka, but the actions have to match the words. And this matching of the action and the words is completely missing. And I think that our Foreign Secretary's visit was a good visit, and it's very good that that he was able to go to Dhaka and meet people. He said very clearly that his talks were frank, candid, and constructive, which means he said exactly what were India's concerns on all the subjects. And it is very surprising that right up to the day of Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri's visit on 9th of December, the Bangladesh media, the Bangladesh government has been totally denying the existence of any attacks on minorities, saying this is a Indian media propaganda, nothing is happening, everything is quiet and calm. And suddenly, the day after Vikram Misri left, we heard that, oh, there was a statement, yes, there have been 88 attacks, and of them 70 people have been arrested. But we do know that even the Pratham Alo, Bangladesh's leading newspaper, reported between 5 and 20 of August, at least 1,608 attacks. And the the Hindu Buddhist Christian Okyu Jyoth had reported more than 2,000 attacks. So this is one issue, and we know about the people who have been forced to resign. Hindu teachers have been forced to resign. Hindu professors have been forced to resign. And Bangladesh authorities, including the Home Advisor, has made a statement saying that we are a Muslim majority country, so we don't need to employ the minorities at all. That the Hindus will not be allowed to take police jobs. The Hindus will not be given, Hindus and other minorities will not be given government jobs. So there's a complete match between actions and words. And this is what is a cause of great concern. I think the dealing with Chinmoy Krishna Das Brahmachari, the way in which his case has been treated is the exact example of this. Because even his lawyers have been saying, and today the Supreme Court lawyers were allowed to argue his case, but no decision has been given. The bail has still been refused. And there's not a word from the Bangladesh interim regime. I don't call it a government because really its legitimacy is very much in doubt. But the
Mr. Karim, what about you, sir? In your viewpoint, do you think that Dhaka will continue pursuing Sheikh Hasina's extradition? Because that will be a major sticky point. What are the other bones of contention do you think will be instrumental in ensuring normalizing of ties between India and Bangladesh?
Well, thank you very much. Actually, right now, these are the things depends on few factors, like the way our media and Indian media, we find a huge difference between these two media world. Like Indian media, they are representing differently, and Bangladeshi media, we find different. But I will actually deny few aspects as mentioned by Bina Sikri. Actually, see, once I was just before few minutes back, once I was hearing Mr. Bhattacharya's statement, now I fully understand that why Indian media is misled and by the misinformation, because he was very clearly mentioning that why Chinmoy bail was rejected, and there was no ground. It was very visible that why he was charged. He was involved in extremism. He was involved in his people was involved, directly involved, and they have mentioned in while they were interrogated, they mentioned that they did it with the cooperation of Chinmoy. They were involved in the murder of one of the advocate. So actually, after that, the perpetrators, they were arrested and they are under trial now. And the judiciary division is very neutral and active now.
Response from Veena
The
Sikri on
current-
this, because sir, a lot of this may not really have evidence, and
No,
you know,
I need
yes,
to finish. I need to
yeah.
finish. I need to
May I,
finish.
may I just,
So
may I
the
just add
current
one
Let
point?
her just give her comment, and then I'll come back to you. Veena Sikri, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I must say very clearly that what I was trying to finish my statement was that, you know, you're talking about a kind of a heinous crime. You're calling them terrorists. ISKCON is a globally known organization. How can the representative from Bangladesh call them terrorists? All these decades, they have been there in Bangladesh. They have been helping the needy. To the ISKCON and the Ramakrishna Mission are the two institutions that have been absolutely joining one with society in helping all the needy people of society, from no matter what religion they are. Now you're saying that, you know, that they're terrorists. I mean, this is
Would you
amazing.
like to respond to that, sir? Because the
And
world
one
is
more-
watching.
One more point.
Yes,
One more
clearly,
point.
yeah.
Yeah, see,
I'd like to say that there's an
you need to give me time.
8-point demand
If
from
you
the
don't give me time, I cannot reply.
community and Attorney Jagran Jodh,
As
and that is
Veena
Veena,
not
I'll come back to you.
really-
Let him just respond. Yeah, Mr. Kareem.
Yeah, actually, I need some time to reply you. Mr. Chinmoy, what he has done last couple of years, we have the evidence, and our Bangladeshi victims, they understand what he has done. And if you talk about the role of what is that organization that the Chinmoy's organization, that is an NGO, and that was founded in New York. They are not representing the Hindu community, and that NGO in Bangladesh, they had been doing lot of incidents, and there are lot of people who are victim, and they have reported to the local police. Now I'm going back to the previous questions. The current interim governments, they believe in equality, and you know, in Bangladesh, our community lives with harmony, and the nature actually our people, they are quite respectful for religious rituals. But yes, there are some incidents and which really very disheartening, and those who are happening due to bad practice as part of political conspiracy, political manipulation, and don't mix up those political conspiracy.
Veena
with
Sikri,
these
will the
religious
world watch Bangladesh in such silos? Because clearly, if you're not respecting minority rights, there will be other.
I have not finished. I have not finished.
I think
Yes, I'm completely out of time. Veena Sikri, last word from you, ma'am.
This point is very important, what you have just said, that actually Bangladesh constitution provides for democracy, socialism, secularism, and nationalism. And this concept of democracy and secularism is now totally absent. This is not a democratic regime at all. Only the right wing is Jamaat-e-Islami and the Hifazat-e-Islam and all these Islamist organizations are controlling.
Mr. Kareem, you wanted to make a point quickly, sir.
The 8-point demand by the minority community.
If you honestly want India-Bangladesh relationship, trust me, if you want honestly a strong India-Bangladesh relationship, then you need to stop spreading wrong information. We need to help each other by providing true information. Right?
Yes,
right.
I would also point one factor that in the last few days and weeks, the way in which the 1971 Liberation War values are being reversed, and Pakistan and Jamaat-e-Islami, which were the two countries,
yeah, Mrs. Bikri, you are actually representing Awami League.
are now again coming back. Pakistan's military training is going to take place. Pakistan ships have brought...
Okay, thank you so much, both of you, for joining me on this broadcast. Clearly, this is something that is a motive. Chinmoy Krishna Das's plea has been rejected not once, but for the third time. And India has been asking Bangladesh to ensure protection of Bangladeshi Hindus, while Bangladesh now has also, in some ways, given an olive branch to India. Several diplomatic voices coming in from Bangladesh seeking normalizing of ties with India. Moving on to other important stories, Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister for Political Affairs, Dr. Majid Takht Ravanchi, will be in Delhi today. He will be attending the 19th round of Iran-India political consultations, which will be held on Thursday and Friday. The minister is expected to discuss efforts to diffuse tensions in this region. We'll be covering that very important news development in a bit, but now it's time for a short break. Welcome back. Multiple chilling videos from New Orleans shooting scene show people ducking, running and hiding as a man opened fire indiscriminately after ramming his pickup truck into New Year revelers. At least 15 people were killed and 30 or more have also sustained injuries after this truck crashing and shooting incident on Bourbon Street in New Orleans prompted the mayor to term it a terrorist attack. Now, the intention behind the terrorist attack has not been ascertained yet. The president has said that he has been briefed on the attacker's post by federal investigators who are also looking into possible ties of this incident, of this attack, to the Islamic State. Let's look at this special report before we go to our guest.
It is usually a moment of inspiration and resolution as billions unite across the world with the year ending. However, a speeding pickup truck in New Orleans has changed the way many people feel about the special day, as a 42-year-old US Army veteran used the occasion to kill and maim and ruin lives forever. Security camera footage has emerged of suspected terrorist Shamsuddin Jabbar driving his pickup truck down a packed Bourbon Street in New Orleans on New Year's Day before being shot dead by the police.
This man was trying to run over.
US cops have described Jabbar as a terrorist, while the FBI said an ISIS flag was located in the vehicle. A video circulating on social media showed Jabbar's white pickup truck inching through Canal Street traffic before taking a sharp turn down Bourbon Street. Other graphic videos have emerged showing the extent of damage and injuries and the level of depravity shown by the attacker. The authorities probing the case have said that the suspect was not solely responsible for the attack. Reacting to the incident, US President Joe Biden has said that Jabbar had expressed a desire to kill before the deadly New Orleans rampage.
The FBI also reported to me that mere hours before the attack, he posted videos on social media indicating that he was inspired by ISIS, expressing a desire to kill. The ISIS flag was found in his vehicle, which he rented to conduct this attack. Possible explosives were found in the vehicle as well, and more explosives were found nearby. The situation is very fluid, and the investigation has a preliminary stage.
In a social media post, President-elect Donald Trump has attacked the Democrats and said that the incident was an act of pure evil. He erroneously reignited the debate over immigration and crime following a tragic car ramming incident, as the suspect doesn't fit that profile. Thousands of kilometers away, another shocking incident rattled the nation as a Tesla Cybertruck exploded in front of a Trump hotel, killing one person. Authorities are investigating a possible link between the Cybertruck explosion and the suspected terror attack in New Orleans. The exact motive of the attack is not yet known, with authorities working round the clock to zero in on clues that can lead them to some concrete answers. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV.
Carolyn Malone joins us from Washington, D.C. Thank you so much, Carolyn, for joining us. Tell us, what do we know so far on the investigation that has been launched into this case? Because so much has emerged on the background of the attacker, but what is it that we know for sure on this case?
Absolutely. Well, the FBI are leading this investigation, and one of the strands they're looking at is back into his neighborhood where he was resident in Houston, Texas, and looking into, how he potentially became radicalized. They've interviewed people, neighbors, and former relatives of his who lived in the area, including, we believe, his ex-wife and the husband of his ex-wife, who's spoken, confirmed, as his brother has, that he did move, did change religions from Christianity to Islam, but they haven't talked publicly about whether he may have been radicalized at all. It's also known that he had 2 daughters, that he used to be in the US Army, and in fact he was discharged from the Army after being found driving around the base under the influence of alcohol, so somewhat of a dishonorable discharge there. However, he did serve time in the US Army, and among the jobs that he had included as an IT specialist, so tech specialist, as well as doing about a year in Afghanistan, although he wasn't in a combat role. So this is someone that is a US Army veteran. He's served and defended the country of the United States. He's a US citizen. And it's very strange, of course, to see this type of movement if, in fact, he has been radicalized and carried out such an atrocious attack as we saw on New Year's Day. The FBI also looking into whether there were any other suspects involved. One of the concerns they had directly after the attack was IED explosives. They found a couple around the scene, and they scoured the area looking around evacuated hotels, cordoned off the area, checking to make sure there wasn't anything else left there that could pose a danger to people who live there or to the many visitors who come to New Orleans for New Year's Eve every year. So really looking at every angles at the moment. We heard, of course, from President Biden of a potential link to a terror group as well.
Right, Carolyn, also the ISIS angle, how sure are the investigators of that, and what aspects of the terror bit are being probed into?
So we know, of course, from the videos that were seen of the pickup truck and witness statements that there was an ISIS flag on that pickup truck that the suspect used to ram into people. So that is somewhat indicative that he was at the very least inspired by the group. It doesn't, of course, establish an actual connection to the group. We know as well that President Biden, when he spoke later on New Year's Day, he spoke about social media videos that had been posted online suggesting that Jabir, the suspect, actually wanted to kill people, that there was a potential link there to terror groups, at least that he had again been inspired by terror groups. I think one thing also of interest is security analysts have been speaking about how groups like Islamic State, ISIS, do post online and try to radicalize people, including lone wolf actors. And they also put out plans of how people can be radicalized and use vehicles in the way that Jabir has, using a truck to ram into people. That doesn't, of course, confirm anything. But certainly you can imagine that the FBI and the investigators looking at this will be examining all angles, both, in the real world in Texas, but also online to see what his history looked like.
Right. Thank you, Carolyn, for joining us with those critical details. It's an evolving story, and we'll keep coming back to you. Moving on to other important stories. After Tesla chief Elon Musk clashed with Germany and its Chancellor Olaf Scholz earlier this week, he's going after United Kingdom Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Next, Musk has launched a fresh attack against Mr. Starmer, accusing the UK leader of failing to bring rape gangs to justice when he was the head of prosecution service more than 10 years ago. Now, the tech billionaire has also increasingly criticized the British government in recent months, comparing it to Stalin's Russia, endorsing the Reform UK party. He has also backed Germany's far-right AfD party last month. In his latest attack, Musk has called for fresh polls in the country, even advocated for the release of far-right activist Tommy Robinson, who was jailed for 18 months for contempt of court last October. Elon Musk has claimed that very few businesses want to invest in Britain under the Labour Party, a claim that Starmer has refuted. To discuss this further, we have with us Nicholas Nugent, who is a British journalist, and he was former BBC editor from London. We also have Professor David K. Johnston, Professor of Public Policy, Rochester Institute of Technology. Thank you, both of you, for joining me on this broadcast. To you, Nicholas, first, How do you see Elon Musk's recent and also statements that he has given out in the past few months against the UK Prime Minister? Do you see this as something that he does on a regular basis? And what do you think are the important political undertones to these statements?
Well, I think perhaps the risk that you're suggesting to British democracy is rather overrated. I mean, Elon Musk is as entitled as anybody to express his opinion and indeed to criticise the British Prime Minister. But it bemuses us as British citizens, the topics he's choosing, because, I mean, I could criticise the Prime Minister for his policy on illegal migration that doesn't seem to have stopped the small boats arriving, or indeed people are criticising him for having professed pro-economic growth, investment in industry, and it's not really working very well. These are the issues of the moment. Instead of which, Elon Musk has picked on a scandal, indeed, of many years ago, and suggested that Keir Starmer was responsible for not bringing the appropriate people in this sex scandal to justice, or indeed not now backing an inquiry into it. So it seems to us a little bit obscure at the moment that he's taking this position. It may be rather more to the point that he is rumoured to be wanting to back one of the British political parties, Reform, with a vast sum, if the rumours are to be believed. But there are already checks and balances in position in British democracy that prevent foreigners from investing sums like that. So I don't really see that as a threat. I think perhaps you might have had a little bit more concern about what Elon Musk been saying about the German elections, because there they are in an electoral process,
right?
And there is not unnaturally some concern that Elon Musk seems to be interfering in the electoral process. I think it's a long, long way from interfering in British democracy. He may indeed have economic or commercial motives for making this point. Clearly, he's not a fan of the British Prime Minister, but I do rather question the factors he's chosen to criticise him.
Right. Professor Johnston, are business interests in some ways also driving Elon Musk's remarks, given that Musk has never really commented about China and, his censorship intervention has also been in some ways quite selective?
Well, I would step back a little bit. I think Musk is playing a game here that's much bigger than his particular interests in any one country. Elon Musk, who was a prince of apartheid South Africa, clearly has no regard for democracy. And if you look at the people he supported, Donald Trump in the United States, the far-right German party, his association with Nigel Farage and his attacks on the current prime minister, in all of those, I think what he's trying to do is undermine democracy so that people like him can operate as they choose without being accountable to a democratic government or to safety regulatory systems, or accountable for the government money they get. A great deal of Elon Musk's fortune derives from contracts with the US federal government, billions and billions of dollars in contracts.
Right. Also, Nicholas, will this impact the Trump-Starmer relationship? Because considering that Elon Musk is not just a billionaire anymore, he's also someone seen as part of the Trump government.
Well, indeed. And I think that's why perhaps Starmer and his advisors are being a bit cautious in responding, because they know that he is a trusted aide of the incoming president. And Keir Starmer clearly wants to get off to a good start with incoming President Trump. So there's not likely to be a sort of backlash. But I mean, I like Professor Johnston's interpretation that this is a broader attack on democracy than a specific attack on the British Prime Minister. Yes, indeed, he works according to different rules. And what his long-term objective is, who can tell, whether it's commercial or whether it is indeed political, as a a trusted member of the incoming administration. But really, it's not causing big shakes here in Britain. Let me put it that way. We're interested, we're intrigued, but I don't think it's going to rattle the cage of the present Prime Minister in a way that perhaps some other commentators might do by choosing more contemporary issues to attack the new Labour administration here.
Professor Johnston, we've seen Starmer not really respond using very sharp words, especially to Elon Musk. Do you think that also reflects a sense of caution? Are they waiting and watching? How do you see that?
Starmer is a long experienced politician, and he's not taking the bait. It's very easy when someone who's a disruptor like Elon Musk goes after you to respond. And I think Starmer is very wise to sort of hold his powder dry and minimize what he has to say. And by the way, capital investment in Britain has gone up since last July 1st when he became prime minister, contrary to Musk's assertion that nobody wants to invest there. So I think you're going to see Starmer, and one would hope other experienced politicians around the world, not get drawn into Elon Musk's games.
Right. Nicholas, also, how ethical do you think is it for Elon Musk to boost these far-right voices across countries on X?
Well, I'm not going to criticize Elon Musk. I mean, he's a free individual. He may be the richest man in the world, but I mean, he can say what he likes. I don't feel either personally or on behalf of my nation to feel threatened because he's exercising his right to free speech. But I do agree with Professor Johnston's comment that Starmer's going to be very cautious in reacting to that, in taking the bait. He's not going to take the bait. Much more important to him is to get off to a good start with the incoming American president. So let Elon Musk have his say. I don't think anyone's going to feel threatened by it. We're just interested to see the game he's playing. I think even the Germans are not feeling threatened by it because, yes, he can state his opinion, but I don't think that's going to change the course of democracy in Germany in the short term at any rate. So let's just see what happens. Democracy has its own inbuilt strength, and I think it's going to hold together in Germany and indeed in the longer term in Britain.
Johnston, the same question to you, sir. What do you think of Musk, boosting far-right voices on X? Do you think that this is ethical?
Well, first of all, it's his business that he owns lock, stock, and barrel, and he can do what he wants with it because since it's on the internet, not over the airwaves, the public owns, it's not subject to content regulation. Is it, however, a moral thing to do? No, of course not. He is trying very hard to persuade many people that if they give up their liberties and they give up democracy, they will be better off. I can see how he believes that is in his interests, both commercial and psychological, but that's not selling particularly well in the United States, the UK, or Germany. And I agree with Mr. Nugent that democracies have a lot of vitality to them. You can lose a democracy. Look at Hungary and Viktor Orban. And so we need to be very careful and cautious and watchful of people like Elon Musk and the people he associates with. But we shouldn't assume that we live in a house of cards that can be blown over.
Right. Closing remarks from you, Nicholas. Your last words on, with Musk's fixation with the UK, and how are people of the country looking at it?
I think it all needs to be put in perspective. And frankly, that's how I see it. It's small. It doesn't really matter very much. Yes, he may own one of the biggest communication tools of the modern age, but it doesn't mean the people of Britain, for example, or indeed of Germany, are going to rise to the bait and follow the Musk philosophy. He's having his say, and as a great believer in free speech, why shouldn't he have his say? You're giving me my say now. I just happen to have a rather different opinion. What matters in elections is who people vote for and their trust in the individuals who are standing for election. Elon Musk is not standing for election. He's trying to be one of these sort of modern animals called an influencer, well, I think there's a limit to how far that influence will reach, certainly beyond the United States, and I would suggest even within the United States. Let him have his say. I don't think it's going to cause any great upsets in any country, frankly.
Right. Thank you both of you for joining me on this broadcast. It's time for a short break. More news and updates on the other side. In a fresh blow, the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, was met with harsh heckling and calls to leave while on holiday at a ski resort in British Columbia. The crowd at Red Mountain Resort in Rossland loudly booed and mocked Trudeau, urging him to depart the province. In a video shared on X, Trudeau, whose popularity has dropped sharply in last few months, was seen confronted by a member of the public in a parking lot where she sharply asked him to get out of the town. This comes as Prime Minister faces increasing pressure to step down, even as members of his own Liberal Party, after nearly a decade in office, have spoken out against him. Trudeau's approval has also fallen in the midst of concerns over rising cost of living and also inflation.
Mr. Prime Minister, please get the out of BC.
Have a wonderful day, ma'am.
Yeah, you.
As political turmoil deepens in South Korea, impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol is still resisting arrest for a third day, vowing to fight authorities who are seeking to question him over his failed martial law attempt. His controversial declaration sparked impeachment, leaving him facing possible arrest, imprisonment and even death penalty. In a letter that was released Wednesday, Yoon has sent a defiant message to his conservative supporters gathered outside his home in Seoul, promising to fight to the end against what he calls anti-state forces as authorities prepare to overthrow him over last month's martial law order. It still remains unclear when or how police might make that arrest, especially with Presidential Security Service blocking investigators from accessing his office and residence with a search warrant. Meanwhile, US President Joe Biden is awarding the second highest civilian honor to lawmakers who led investigation into the violent January 6 Capitol riots. The Presidential Citizens Medal will be presented to 20 recipients, including Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, who spearheaded the congressional probe into the insurrection following the 2020 election. Cheney is a former Republican representative and Thompson is a Democrat who led the House committee investigating the attack. Cheney has been outspoken while backing Vice President Kamala Harris in the 2024 race, which angered now President-elect Trump. Biden is reportedly considering preemptive pardons for Cheney and others targeted by Donald Trump. Donald Trump, meanwhile, who's set to take office on the 20th of Jan, has vowed to pardon the Jan 6 rioters on day one of his presidency. Meanwhile, the Sports Ministry in India has said ace shooter Manu Bhaker and chess world champion D. Gukesh and all four athletes will be getting the Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award. Double Olympic medalist Manu Bhaker and world chess champion D. Gukesh are amongst the four athletes who will be honoured with the Dhyan Chand Khel Ratna Award on the 17th of January. This was a statement that was issued by the Sports Ministry today. The awardees will receive their awards from the President of India, Draupadi Murmu, at a specially organised function at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Indian men's hockey team captain Harmanpreet Singh and Paralympian Praveen Kumar will also receive the Khel Ratna Award from the President of India, Draupadi Murmu. That's all we have for you on India Global today. See you tomorrow.